I want to ask you about, just like I said, everything's at a fever pitch. Everybody's so excited. We have Steve Spurrier. That first game against UCF, because, again, I talked about the spring game, how crazy it was. I was actually blessed enough to be at that first game as well against UCF. And, you had like the little game day outside, Thursday night kickoff, national TV, which you guys seem to always do the Thursday night games. Coach Spurrier loved that exposure and attention, whatever. But packed house, everything else. Like, just talk about that. I mean, again, just being Steve Spurrier's first ever game at South Carolina, being a part of that. Like, what was that experience like for you specifically?
I remember one of the coolest things about being a Carolina football player, and I think anybody can share this sentiment who's run out of the tunnel to 2001, is that intensity, that environment when you're running into it. And that being the first time as a college football player, and being the debut game of Coach Spurrier in a fan base as passionate as South Carolina's. I don't know. I think not in my career. I don't know if the hype was ever matched other than that. But I remember coming out of there and not being able to talk to Tommy Beecher, who was right next to me. It was, in that time, it's the loudest place you've ever been. Still, arguably one of the loudest places I've ever been. And I remember when they hit that. I think it was maybe a deep post or something.
Yeah, Mitchell to Whiteside.
Yeah, man, and that place went off. The top blew off. And any doubts you have about where you decided to come play football is gone.
So. You see that intensity, that energy. Obviously, you were part of that 05 team that beat Tennessee in Knoxville first time, or beat Florida for the first time, and it felt like 200 years. I mean, again, that has to be able to, be very cool to look back and say you were a part. Because, again, I really do believe, like, building a program, it's, Lou Holtz did what he did, and Steve Spurrier built on top of it, and then you saw what happened, the culmination of it of 10-13. Like, being able to say you were a part of that team that accomplished so many firsts. I'm sure it was cool in the moment, but looking back, like, what does it mean to you now?
Being motivated to do things that have never been done before. Something that Coach Spurrier talked about. And he always said it's one of the reasons he came to South Carolina was he wanted to do things that have never been done and that people didn't think could be done. And much like, I guess, in high school, we were the first team from our city to win a state championship. Even though it was in Washington and I hadn't grown up there and stuff, it was still cool to be the first group to do something. And even now in Carolina, you look at where the program is and where we want it to be. And we were there for that upward trend. And we kind of, I guess, helped push us to that point between 10 and 13 where we were a premier program, that breath of fresh air up there. But, I mean, for me, for Coach Spurrier, it's always been, you take pride in it. I mean, because you do something for the first time because it's hard to be done, right? And when you do it, it's quite an accomplishment. So that was a big motivator as well when I went down to South Carolina, knowing that it wasn't a big-time powerhouse SEC program, and that you're going to go there and try to build something.